Welcome to today's Art Chat. My name is Laura Stiefelmore, and it's my great pleasure to be here with Luz Coquera, the Executive Director at UnidosNow. Luz has been recognized with numerous awards for building strong relationships in the Minnesota region with private, public, faith-based, and civic organizations to close the education achievement gap, reverse negative health trends, and empower people to civic integration. Under her leadership, UnidosNow works to achieve their mission of elevating the quality of life of the growing Hispanic and Latino community through education, integration, and civic engagement. Luz, thank you so much for joining me today.
Laura, thank you so much for inviting me. It is my pleasure.
We're so excited to have you. So before we dive into the incredible work that you and UnidosNow are doing, I'd like to start off with an artwork from the Ringling collection and just get your initial thoughts on it. So what is your response to this painting?
I think it's, first of all, a beautiful painting. It's a very peaceful, very inviting image to reflection, but I also see the bridge, and I can't help it but wish that everything that is happening right now would have that kind of shape where people are connected, not through the pain only, but through the hope. And I am talking about people who are very much affected by what's going around in the world and not having a place to be connected with. The bridge is just very powerful for me, but also the peacefulness of the water and the horizon, the mountains and just the sun, coming out in the sky. It's just beautiful. It's just really beautiful. That's what evokes in me right now.
Wonderful. Yeah, it's so calming to just stand in front of this work of art and just take it in. You can almost hear the water lapping at the shore and breathe in the fresh air. But I wanted to return to the idea of the bridge that you mentioned. It was the first thing that you noticed. And that's kind of why I thought this work might appeal to you, because the bridge is obviously so important in this landscape. But I like the idea of a bridge as sort of a metaphor for the work that you do. UnidosNow serving as the bridge for young people and helping them make that journey to achieving the American dream, whatever that means for them. So can you tell us more about what your organization does?
So we are very focused on empowering the Latino young people with the idea that as the population continues to grow in Sarasota, Manatee County, we are going to have more young Latinos who are our leaders of tomorrow. So our programs that we've established in the elementary school, middle schools, and high schools are really focusing on giving people that idea that they can dream big, that they can reach for the stars. But also we want to give them information on the possibilities that they can have around their own passion, and a space for self-discovery, but at the same time to look at the reality. What are the careers, what are the colleges, the programs that they can aim to reach high. And for instance, in our elementary school for girls, many people ask us, why do you focus only on girls? And primarily we focus on the Latina girls because in the Latino culture, most of the girls are encouraged to look good, find someone who can take care of themselves. And we want to encourage them to go beyond that. And so the kids have been doing robotics, they've been learning how to code. So defying every label that may have hurt as growing up. And then in the middle school, because we feel it is an important transition into high school, we want to make sure that the students have someone that will be welcoming them as they transition into high school. So we have students in the high schools who become the ambassadors, and they are the bridge for the middle school students to go into high school. And then in the high school, we work with the students, giving them all the information, the tools, and everything that they need to be able to apply to colleges. They can decide whether they want to go for a 2-year college degree or 4-year college degree, but also we work with the parents. In the Latino culture, family is one of the most important values. So we involve the parents every step of the way so that they can understand the type of service that we are providing, but also when it comes for the kids to make choices. Yesterday we had decision day and the kids announced the college of their choices. So those students that we prepared, they earned $2.8 million in scholarships and grants. Some
Wow.
of them are going on full scholarships to universities like Cornell University, Washington University in St. Louis, Vassar College, Georgia Tech, University of Florida, USF, SCF, different places. And so the parents sometimes may have a hard time to let the kids go somewhere outside of Florida. So we want to make sure that the parents understand that sometimes it's going to be cheaper for them to let the kids go to a selective college on a full scholarship. You can't go wrong when Middlebury College just offer a full scholarship to one of our students who wants to pursue arts. So the possibilities are endless if the students or the parents have all the right tools, have the information, but also we rely on community partnerships. As you know, we have a strong partnership with the Ringling.
Mhm.
Our elementary school girls go very often. The families have been given these annual passes that they can use and admire art like the one we are seeing right now, and they serve as hosts for our different programs. And also we have mentors from the Ringling Museum. Last night at Decision Day, one of the mentors was mentioned as someone who helped this student with their essay, their college application, and the ability to stand out. And so I think it's so important for us to have all these bridges with the community and the partnerships that we have not only with the local colleges, but with organizations like the Ringling. Um, it's almost like the best kept secret when we ask the families if they've ever been in the Ringling, and some of the families say no. So your organization has allowed them to experience the art and to go as a family to learn something as beautiful as art, but also to enjoy the beautiful grounds that you have. So thank you so much for your partnership and for everything that you've done for the community. I know that the Ringling is very strong in reaching out to minorities. And so we've sent a representative from UnidosNow who is involved in this task force, and you're finding ways to make this beautiful art accessible to all.
Well, yeah, no, thank you, and it's really our honor to to work with you all. But yeah, I think this idea of making art accessible, and that's what I love about this painting. Just right off the bat, I think it appeals to everyone, and it just seems like a place that anyone could feel comfortable and just have this moment of respite in these really stressful and trying times. And hearing you talk about the work that you do, and I've got some information about the painting here as well. Something that struck me too, not only the bridge in this painting, but the idea of light. So we noticed there's the man-made lamppost on the bridge there, but it's totally dwarfed by the brightness of the natural light. And it seems to me like what you're doing is just really helping these kids find their natural light and really let it shine. And so thank you for all that you're doing. But I wanted to ask you, given the coronavirus crisis and everything that's going on, how has that impacted your work or how you've had to shift some priorities?
So I think nothing could have prepared us for what we face with this coronavirus crisis. First of all, students who were in those selective colleges, they had come home with a very short notice,
Mm.
and they were asking us for help to assist them with their airfares to come back home. They needed a place to store their belongings, so they needed to pay for storage, and also coming back home with the reality that they live in small places and now having to share with their siblings and having to take their classes online was very difficult. For some of the students, it was very stressful just because they came back again to the roles of caregivers and the parents relying on them on how they were going to pay for the rent if they lost their income and their utilities and where to get food. And so one of our students, for instance, had a really terrible experience. He thought he was having a heart attack. He ended up going to the ER, and then they realized that it was a panic attack.
Mm.
And so the stress that causes for young people to carry all this burden on their shoulders is extreme. And so many families that do not qualify for any benefits, such as unemployment insurance or the stimulus package or seasons of sharing, they were turning to us in desperation. And more organizations were turning to us saying, do you have any resources? Do you have any means? And we were so fortunate that when we reach out to friends of UnidosNow, donors in the community, the local foundations, and disclose this problem that we were having, they were able to help us build an emergency fund so that we can assist families with the rent and the utilities and other basic things that they may not be able to get out in the community. But also the strong partnerships. Harvest House has been unbelievable. They have organized this food drive for the families, and we've organized them as drivers, those who have transportation, others that don't, to pick up food for their neighbors. And we are able to give them a gas card just to offset the cost of driving. It has brought us closer with the community, but also to realize that there are so many caring people in Sarasota, Manatee, and it's a region that has a really big heart. So our roles have changed for the time being, and while continuing with our programs that have switched completely to online, having all our webinars and all our offerings online, we had to take on these additional duties of becoming case managers for many of the families. To the date, we've been able to assist close to 80 families and 235 children with their basic needs. And we are extremely grateful to all the organizations and the local foundations that have come to our rescue.
Wow, that's incredible impact that you're having. So one last question. For me, this painting represents the idea of transience. The figure on the bridge is passing through the scene, and eventually dawn will break, and the night will fall. And so this is a moment of quiet solitude, but it's also a moment of sort of transition. So how are you thinking about the future and transitioning ahead? I mean, right now you're, I think, probably just in, crisis mode and serving people. But how are you thinking long term about how this virus and this shutdown is going to impact your work? Is it going to, when this is all over, will you just return to business as normal? How does the future look for you right now?
I think looking at this picture, I am thinking that life will never be the same for anybody.
Mm-hmm.
We will still have this beauty that luckily without people destroying the environment, it has come to how it's supposed to look.
Mm-hmm.
But we were very quick to move from coping to responding to the crisis. And now we are in the innovating stage.
Mm-hmm.
We have switched all our programs to online formats, and we have Zoom meetings, and we have them in English and Spanish. We are going to continue offering our Future Leaders Academy summer component online this year. And we are using the software and the platforms that allow us to have those kind of interactions between students, mentors, parents, and community partners. And as for the crisis, I know it's not sustainable. We cannot pay people's rents forever. We cannot expect the donors to offset their expenses forever. I know that many of them are going to be able to get back on their feet. Others may not. It will take longer for them. They will have to rely on what's available. But I think we have never lost sight of what our mission is, and we need to return to do what we are so good at doing, which is empowering people, preparing them for the future. Whatever the future looks like, it's going to be bright. Because after listening to our scholars last night at Decision Day, I invite anyone to check our Facebook page. We posted the link it was uploaded on YouTube. And if you want to have some inspiration and some hope for tomorrow, listen to these young leaders, because their stories will tell you all you need to know, and know that we are in great hands.
Well, I think that's a beautiful way to end our segment today. So yes, find inspiration where you can, whether it's in artworks or the young leaders, and finding the bright spots in all of this time of trouble. So is there any last word that you wanted to share before we conclude our conversation today?
First, thank you for inviting us, and thank you for doing this. I think for myself, it's like a piece of mental health and taking care of myself, talking about art and finding the commonalities and seeing the beauty that Mother Earth has to offer. Thank you very much for your partnership, and please keep doing this as many times as you want.
Well, thank you so much. It was wonderful to talk to you, and thank you so much for all that you're doing for our community. It's really wonderful. We respect it so much. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Laura. Have a great day.